Hi, I'm Michael Bean, and it is Tuesday, June the 30th. Welcome to My Free Acting Class. You can find more about us at myfreeactingclass.com. And if you want more information on my classes, I teach on Mondays and Tuesdays, and all of those videos get posted to my YouTube channel, which you can find a link to at confidenceoncamera.com. I am just finishing uploading the video from yesterday. So yesterday we started talking about empathy, and I want to continue that conversation about empathy today. Also, on Tuesdays, I like to do a story breakdown. So we're going to look at a short script from a project called The Now, which is on a network called Quibi, which is brand new, and some of you may not have heard of it. And even those that have, maybe I can offer a little bit of new information for you. And so we should just kind of jump right in. I'm going to mute all of you. Oops. And so if somebody's got a question, just, the easiest thing for you to do, if in the participant section, you'll find a little button that says raise hand, and then it'll like boom, and it'll pop up an announcement even if there's a bunch of people, and I'll see a little blue hand in the top left corner of the screen. And then I can unmute you. I will stick around for 10 or 15 minutes at the end of the session. So at 4, anybody who has to leave, please leave. And I'll stick around to answer questions for that last 10 or 15 minutes. We can talk about whatever you desire. To start with, just kind of going over the basics of industry things, which I haven't covered in a while, and I think it's just always useful to come back to, because we had a question yesterday from Christina, I think, who asked if you get an audition, is the casting director always the one who has chosen? And so I think it's just a useful reminder that of sort of where the jobs are. Producers, it's the folks in charge of the money, and there are often as many as like 11 or 12 of those, including the people at the studio, the people at the production company, the people at the LA production office, the people at the Vancouver production office, the line producer, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There's the director who's in charge of the story, and that's the singular person who's in charge of either this episode or this movie, and taking care of the story and bringing everything together. They're the point person for telling the story. So they're coming at it from more of an artistic perspective. You've got the casting director, who is a casting professional whose only job it is to run auditions and choose actors for those auditions and know who the actors in their town are. Then you've got the talent agents, or marketing people whose only sales product is actors. They're selling actors, and saying, hey, see my actors for auditions. And then once their actors book projects, they're negotiating with the director and the producer for the contract. So they're basically managing actors and selling them. And then there's the actors over here who are in charge of themselves, and they're in charge of their own work, and they're in charge of making sure their agent has the materials they need to market them appropriately. Had a conversation with a young actor just a couple of days ago who was like, what can I do? And I'm like, well, in the broadest possible terms, what you can do is just practice so much that when you get a chance to go in for an audition, your work is highly skilled. And that just means practicing, which is what you're doing right now by showing up for this. And the other thing you can do is make sure that your agent has all of the marketing materials they need to market you appropriately. That you have good headshots that look like you right now, that you have demo footage. And if you don't have demo footage, that you have clips up on YouTube or Vimeo that they can send links to along with their submissions. That you are doing independent films, the student films, when we're allowed to do those again. They've thrown this out there before, but it's useful for everybody to know about. Vancouver Actors Guide.com. This is the best place to find listings for student films, independent films, commercials, industrials, basically the kind of things that either are no money or so little money that your agent is not going to be involved with them. If you decide to audition for those, you don't have to tell your agent. So there we go. There's our quick blitz overview. Now, yesterday I showed a little clip of a video from Brene Brown talking about empathy, and how many of you saw that? Like, how many of you were here yesterday? Okay, I'm just wondering if I should like re-show it for context. Okay, about half. Okay, maybe we won't re-show it. Yeah, the basic idea with empathizing with your character that I want to go over is that it's connected to this idea of personalizing, right? So the distinction between empathy and sympathy, empathy is feeling with, sympathy is feeling for. It's like, oh, wow, that sucks to be you right now. And empathy is like, wow, yeah, I feel that too. And so I think that particularly finding your way into a character is often really rooted in empathy, rooted in feeling with. And this is a conversation that comes up when I'm working with students all the time, which is I don't have that exact experience. How can I tell that story? Right. So, and uh, I think the baseline is you do not have to empathize with the experience. You have, if you empathize with the feelings behind the experience. And this is the thing that we've been doing. Actually, Sarah's been doing this in my teens class. Shanda, who you can see here, has been doing this in my adult class. We've been working on a lists exercise, going through the Alan Langdon is a teacher out of New York. And we've been essentially journaling moments of strong feeling that, and here's Alan, his name is Alan Langdon, lists. And here are Alan's lists. We've been going through and essentially journaling moments from life that are associated with that strong feeling as a way of investigating them, as a way of reminding yourself. Because there's something called affective memory and state-dependent memory. And I know I'm getting technical, I'm sorry. The basic idea is that with state-dependent memory, and why I think it's important for actors and important in connecting to this idea of empathy and finding the character, is that whatever your state your body is in, right? So whatever emotional state, whatever physical state your body is in, gets laid down at the same time as memory. And this is why, like, when you're really, really happy, everything in the world seems amazing, is because happy memories are easier to access. It's also why when like things are really bleak and you're really sad, everything seems sad, and all you can remember is like everything you've ever failed at or has ever gone wrong, because all those memories are easier to access. If the feeling or sensation in your body is this is one thing, then every memory that also had that same physical sensation or feeling in your body will be easier to access. And so where that's useful is if you have easy access to the full range of your human feeling, and your life already has given you plenty. It's just a matter of investigating and knowing whether it's there. So that when a character comes up who is in deep grief, or who is insanely competitive and needs to win at all costs, or who has been betrayed by somebody who they care about, that you're like, okay, right, I know what that feels like. I maybe not have had that exact experience, and hopefully, because a lot of drama involves terrible things happening to your characters, you often don't have that exact experience, but you empathize with the feelings behind it, and you know how to access those. And that's when you can kind of use that as your in to the class, to working on the scene. So let's look at the scene that I pulled for us today. It's a very short one. It's called from a show called The Now. And then we're going to look at, go over the story questions and talk about it a little bit, and see if we can talk about it in the context of empathizing. Oh, you know what? Why don't I choose a couple of folks to do this first? The Caden, this one's like a couple of adults talking about something very adult, so thank you, but I'm gonna skip you on that one. I hope you don't mind, like, no offense, but this particular script isn't a kid script. Yesterday we did a kid script. Today we're doing like a more adult one. Where are we? Hey, Dia, I see that you got your video turned off, but do you want to jump in and help me out? I'm like, who else do I know here who's definitely an adult? And Shanda, you want to help me out with this one? Okay. And yeah, there she is. Great. So unmute, unmute, you know, and you know, the Candy, do you want to play one of the dudes in this? Okay, great. So we've got Dia, you want to be the waitress today?
Yes.
Okay, great. And then Shanda and Candy, you guys, you can be the dudes. Here we go. Let's take a look. So I'll read the stage direction. In this first one, Shanda, you can read Hal, and Candy, you can read Coop. So this is from the Now, waitress / Jesse, interior Molly's Diner, day. Int, INT period means interior. Greasy spoon. Coop in his cop's uniform sits next to Hal, both trying to digest some recently disseminated news.
Babbling it all over town.
Candy, that's you. Can you see it okay?
Yeah, am I saying it right?
I can't hear you because you're really quiet.
Oh, okay, sorry. Okay. Because it wasn't my place, and I knew you'd be babbling it all over town.
Since when do I blab?
Who do I give this to?
I'll take it.
There with the check.
I'll take it.
What's to Ed? His
big brother just jumped off a bridge.
Right, and there's no reaction written for the waitress. This is the only one page this waitress shows up for. This is a perfect example of what I talked about yesterday when it says off screen. You do not start off screen, especially if you're showing up for like one line in the middle of this. And the second short scene, interior Molly's Diner, night. Junho dips and Shanda, you want to be Junho? Junho dips fries in a cup of coffee, looks at his watch, 10:25. Junho dials his phone.
He didn't show. Oh, I don't swear? Do I swear, Michael?
I don't think so. No, that's why I blanked part of it out.
Okay, cool. He didn't show. I'm done fooling around.
The waitress approaches.
You want anything else?
No. Everything's great, Jesse. And you were right about the pie.
When she walks off, Junho's face hardens. So the waitress doesn't have like a big arc. She's there to support several of the main characters. And so this is one of those examples of a place where it's your job to have enough of an opinion about each of these things to make them make it an interesting addition to the story. And they don't have reactions written for the waitress at the beginning or the end. So you are going to craft those as a way of making this interesting. Now, let's just take a look at the project, because we always start with I always start with style when I'm looking at the story breakdown. The Now, new media, short form series being produced for new media, Quibi, Q-U-I-B-I. UBC actor, this is the union. This information you would get in your breakdown, I just copied and pasted the breakdown here, means that there's the day rate and then 110% buyout, which is they're like, we are buying the right to use this for 1 year or 2 years or 3 years. And so they essentially pay your day rate plus another 110%. The day rate, I think, for actor role is like $600. So if you are getting a single day on set like this, and they're working you whatever their kind of base is, I forget, 10 hours, 12 hours, something. That you're basically making about $1,200. And the rate goes up if you're principal or guest star or co-star, etc. Executive producers: Peter Farrelly. Directors: Peter Farrelly and Bobby Farrelly. Okay, the Farrelly brothers. Writers: Peter Farrelly. These guys. Waitress Jessica, early 20s to 50s. Right? Any ethnicity. This diner waitress brings the check to the table of diners, later asks the patron if she can get him anything else. Please suggest vivid actresses of all types. So this is really normal for a breakdown in a tiny character, is they haven't told you anything, right? Well, all they've given you here is what's in the page of information you've just read. Brings the check to a table of diners, ask the patron if she can get him anything else. So they've told you the story, they haven't told you anything about the character. But that's great because it means you can bring you to it. Do you remember what Patrick Sabangi said? He was our guest last Friday. And if you haven't watched the video, oh man, Patrick was so fantastic like so grounded, so clear, so precise with his notes. I loved, somebody asked him, do you get nervous on set? And he said, well, no, I'm in charge of my department. And if as long as I'm taking care of everything in my department, if the other departments, are messed up, like people are worried about it, it doesn't bother me that much. So I love that frame on things. I'm in charge of my department. And the other thing that he said when we were talking, I asked him about what gets him excited about a part. He said something to the effect of like, I'm the best me, right? I'm the best me. So that's my job, is to like figure out my version of that, or what I'm excited about with this piece, either technically, or story-wise. Storyline: Ed's about to commit suicide when he finds out from his mother that his brother just committed suicide. Oh, and his dad committed suicide in the past too. He can't kill himself because he can't do that to his mom, so instead he learns to live life for today in the now. So we're going to look up some of these people on IMDb, and as a way of getting a sense of the style. Right, if we looked up Quibi, you would find that it's this quick bites, big stories. It's basically a new mobile network. Got a few minutes, that's all you need to be entertained, blah, 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 blah. Content from today's biggest stars. Started by a guy named Jeffrey Katzenberg, founder and chairman. We go look him up on Wikipedia. We find that he was Walt Disney's, and then he started DreamWorks, and then he's raised a whole bunch of money to start his own media projects, one of which is Quibi. And this is, the idea is very short form, delivered directly to your mobile phone. They're pitching it as the like Netflix, but for your phone. And so the episodes are like maximum 10 minutes, I think. We go to the now, we look up all these people. They see full cast and crew. This is imdb.com, the Internet Movie Database. Bobby Farrelly, Peter Farrelly, Pete Jones, Steve Leff. Now, this is a perfect example of this show is, the now is just being created. You saw that the shoot dates for this character that we're listening to right now were December 10th. So instead we have to look at the writers and directors and creators and get a sense to get our best guess of the style. Now, Peter Farrelly and Bobby Farrelly are very famous. We can look at Loudermilk. The last thing that Peter produced, Dumb and Dumber, the Green Book. There's something about Mary. Right, the shows that he's written. So it looks like Loudermilk is the most recent writing and producing. So that would be the one to look at here. Same thing with his brother Bobby. Loudermilk, etc., writing credits. If we were to look up these, Trailer Park Boys, Dumb and Dumber, etc., etc. If we were going to look up these other two, we would find that the one they've got in common, these two, is writing and producing. Steve Leff, has The Ranch. So we could look up Loudermilk, or The Ranch, and watch like a little clip of that. So let's do that. I pulled up a little clip of Steve's Left The Ranch out of curiosity. And so we can watch a little clip of that trailer.
Empathy for the human condition.
This doesn't seem to be the right thing, is it? Okay.
I'm Sam Loudermilk, 4 years off the sauce, and I'm super duper excited.
Yay! How many days you sober? No, you're lying to me.
Okay, I had a few beers.
What kind of beers?
Coors Light.
That's just like water. That doesn't count.
Really?
No, of course it counts, you dope.
I've received numerous anonymous complaints about the way you're leading these meetings.
It's the bingo bitches, isn't it?
Let's face it.
Okay, so crass, fast. You know, if we were going to go and look at the ranch, we would see that. So just to get even the most tenuous sense of style with this, you know, and that's why you watch the little clip. So you're like, okay, so it's not Dumb and Dumber, probably. You know, like, yes, that's one of the things listed, you know, on their credits, you know, that so they're most famous for. That's probably not what we're doing here. And so then we look at, if we look at the story questions, you know, and maybe it's a good idea to take a quick look at the script again. Right, so we've got these two short scenes. You know, the guy's brother just jumped off a bridge, you know, and he drops this on the waitress. You know, and then, you know, this really, you know, this guy who's sort of on a really angry phone call is then really nice to the waitress. So that's all the information we've got. Then we go to our story questions, you know, and this is where I need you to help me out by throwing things quickly into the chat window. Right, what would you say the style is? It's, you know, comedy, if it's the Farrelly Brothers, but what kind of comedy? Comedy, sad and funny. Great, you know, the dramatic. So what would we call that? Dramedy, you know, maybe, you know, dark comedy or dramedy, you know, are both used for that sometimes. Witty. Great. A man decides to turn his life around. You know, this scene, you know, we've got the, you know, like a guy tells his waitress about a suicide, you know, and then an angry guy on the phone who likes his waitress. Now, if you're playing this, and you're like, okay, it's a waitress, you know, but like what piece of the story is interesting to me? You know, either what piece of it is interesting to me technically, you know, as an actor, I've got this very short scene, but like there's a piece of it that's interesting to me technically. Oh, I'm gonna do this one thing. You know, there's this reaction that I'm interested in, or this thing that I'm interested in playing with technically, you know, or in terms of like your own, you know, values or interests, you know, like what interests you about the story if you're playing the waitress? You know, what is your version of it? You know, and I always recommend pie recommendation. Right, it's all about the pie. You know, and so your version is like Dia then is like somebody who's really good at her job. You know, is that the piece, you know, that interests you? She likes her regulars, right? You know, so likes her regulars, you know, and Christina's like sassy waitress. You know, and then we could go over the characters, descriptive words, you know, about myself, descriptive words about the main other, you know, right. So tired, empathic, fun, right? Things you like about the main other's regular at the diner. Right, casual, you know, interesting, you know, strong feeling or opinion. You know, and so this is where it starts to get interesting in terms, especially with that first scene where the guy drops by surprise that, you know, his friend's brother has just jumped off a bridge. Casual, interesting, cool. So is the shock, exactly, shock. You know, or, you know, is he joking? Or right, or right, or Hal's a jerk. Jerk, great. You know, or being so casual, that's a great one. Right, what was that? Right, here's like, so here's, and these we can just lift honestly, you know, and put right into your objective phrase down here. You're like, what I want, like, you know, I want to, you be good at my job. I want to like be a good waitress. What do I have to make the other character do or feel like I'm I don't know what if anybody here has worked a service job, exactly. I'm going to help them. I'm going to make them feel good. I'm going to like take care of people. I'm going to be professional. Sort of whatever the orientation is. That we just lift these and put them right into the objective phrase. Is he joking? Or yeah, that guy's a jerk. As a jerk, or what was that? Or you could also do like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Yeah, or like like huge overshare, share, or how is he so selfish? He's so selfish. Right, which I've known some people who worked in the service industry who basically ended up feeling that way about all humans. Yeah, or we could like check in with the other guy. Is he okay? And so all of that gives you lots to play with if you are doing the, I'll just copy and paste those into our chat window so that we've got access to them. Yeah, and so if we're just playing with that first beat, or the first little micro scene, in which you've only got one line, how do you make that come alive? How do you make that something interesting? I think you pick one of these, and then that's what you fill that moment with. And then the other thing is like you've got your version of the story and you've got your version of who this character is. Yeah, and then we bring in that tool that I was really talking about last week of, can you show us the character in the first 15 seconds? Can you show us the character before you open your mouth? Can you show us the character in the way that you choose to walk in? Or right, like, do you walk in, with the like already scribbling something down on your pad from the last order, or like laughing at somebody at the laughing at what somebody at the last table said? Do you walk up to them with a big smile? Hey guys, I know you too. Do you walk up to them like you're really professional? Is this like more of a high-end restaurant? And you're going to come in, and like, I don't have a notepad and pen because I remember everything because I'm a professional. Like this is your choice about the story. I mean, we have it's a diner, so it's probably not like a high-end establishment, but I'm saying that you have options in terms of who you are and how you show that off. The beautiful thing, especially with the taped audition and something so short, is that most actors will they'll say action, they'll say the line, the other person will say the other line. That'll be it. It'll be boring, it'll be 6 seconds long, and you have the opportunity to make this a 30-second scene in which you happen to speak only once. Now you can see that they've marked up the script. Oh, wait, showing you the wrong thing. You can see that casting marked up the script in this first scene, basically to just give your line. So if you choose to do it like that, then you've got as much time as you need at the beginning, right? So so Shanda, if you're going to play Hal for me again, I'll take it. And his brother just jumped off a bridge. And Dia, you're still going to be my waitress and say, who do I give this to? Let's play with a couple of versions of this. Can you set up so that you can stand where you are without the camera looking terrible, Dia? Yeah. So okay. We're going to imagine you have to bend down to say hi to them. That's fine.
Maybe it's a diner and I'm just like, who do
yeah, exactly right. And so you're like using the frame the way you've got it. Great. And so tip up the camera, some if you can, and if you can't, then just leave it where it is. Yeah, exactly. It doesn't matter if the angle's not perfect. You didn't know you were going to be doing this, and you're just being game and helping us out. Right. And so, what do you want to show us about the character in that moment before? Right? Do you want to give us the like, I'm having fun with the other customers? Do you want to give me the like, I know these guys? Do you want to be like, oh, they look like they're in a serious conversation. Maybe this isn't the right time. Do you want to give us something else?
I think I like that they're in the serious conversation. I'm like,
right.
Maybe I've been standing with it for like a second.
Perfect. And so the notepad, if you don't have, great. If you've got a piece of paper there, great. Then just use the actual paper. And otherwise, yeah, perfect. And so keep it exactly down at the edge of the frame. I would say start back a little bit so you can give us that moment of like, maybe now's not the right time, but they are done their food. So
okay, cool.
And then which one do you want to play with here? Is it is he joking, or that guy's a jerk, or what was that? You know, like what's the reaction that we're playing with there?
Is this guy a jerk? Maybe.
Yeah, holy crap! Like if his brother just jumped off a bridge, like either you're a complete jerk, or yeah, exactly. So you place them on opposite sides of the camera. The guy who you need to be sensitive to, you know, and the guy who's the huge jerk, who just dumped this overshare on you. Yeah, exactly. And I think just stay with it, you know, until we say cut, you know, and keep trying to make it okay for these people because you're their waitress. You know, stand by, you know, and just you know, come in a little bit further back so that we can see that almost private moment, you know, before you join them. Like not off to the side, but physically further back if you can.
Oh, there's a okay.
Oh, don't worry about it. Then just do what you got. You're good. Stand by, and action. So you see them. So see them.
Wait, I didn't know the. Oh, wait, what was
Yeah,
the line?
can I get you to anything? I don't remember the line either. It's who do I give this to? You're bringing the check. Who do I give this to? And it's I'll take it. His brother just jumped off a bridge. Stand by and action.
Who do I give this to?
Oh, I'll take it. His brother just jumped off a bridge.
Cut. Yeah. And it's as simple as that, right? It's listening and reacting, but knowing what that reaction is full of. You know, and then you would just play with different options. You would play with a couple of different options there. Kevin, you asked where these sessions are. You can find them at confidenceoncamera.com, or at least there's a link to my YouTube channel there. Great, and so you don't have to have had this experience of like a massive overshare. You just have to empathize with the feeling behind it. You're like, oh, I know what awkward feels like for me, you know, and I know what my reaction is when somebody is being callous or like trying to make their friends uncomfortable, and I'm going to bring that to this in an honest way. You know, the client of mine who booked this role actually is a server, and she's like, oh yeah, I know exactly how these things go, where it's like, and so I think what she did when she was like, oh, like I'm trying to make that okay, and then there was this processing moment of like almost hearing the thing that had just happened, you know, and so it was like this multi-stage reaction that ultimately we got to because we spent half an hour workshopping these 2 micro scenes. You know, that you can put in lots of detail to something like this, you know, and the context of they want somebody who is a believable waitress at this diner who's clearly good at her job, or Jun-ho wouldn't be so enthusiastic about pie even though he's pissed off at his conversation. You know, so we've got that information. Okay, run a little bit over time, which it seems like I always do. Dia and Shanda and Candy, thank you so much for helping me out and being demos for me today. I know some folks need to go. Please feel free to head out. I'm going to be here for another 10 minutes or so to answer questions. So first, I better give you all permission to unmute yourselves so that you can say goodbye to the people who need to go. Bye, people who need to go.
Thank you.
My pleasure. I love you.
Bye.
Oh, you know what I forgot to do before people left is I forgot to show you Jesse James Miller, who is our guest for Friday. He's the first guest that we've had whose focus is primarily being a filmmaker and a director. He's won a bunch of awards. He's done a bunch of these like very cool independent films. Punk, TV series documentary, the Richard Pryor documentary, Robbie Knievel. He's written and directed some of his own movies. He's started working as a assistant director recently. But writing, producing, directing. And so we've got somebody coming in and talk about the director experience and also talk about the content creator, sort of start to finish experience. So I'm excited about that. He's coming on Friday from 3:30 to 4. And you'll all have had Canada Day, in between. So you'll be and a day of rest afterwards. All right. Y'all have the power to unmute yourselves as you need to. Remember, you can just lean forward and press the space bar if you have a question. What would you like to know before we wrap up? Doesn't have to be about the lesson that I just gave, anything that's on your mind. Yes, Sarah?
Okay, this isn't related to the lesson, but I have a question about headshots, because I had headshots taken last year, and then I cut my hair. And so now's the time I was starting to research agents, and I was going to start trying to get an agent, but I wasn't sure if I can do that with old headshots, because I know I look different from that, and that might be like frustrating for them. So what's your opinion on that? Should I wait to like have an opportunity to get new photos, or?
My opinion on that is that you use your old photos and you include a snapshot of you of now.
Okay.
So basically take a good 4x6 of you of now and just say, hey, I know I'm going to have to get new headshots, but I'd love to get my agent's help on that. Here are my awesome headshots from last year. Here's a photo of me of now. Like once I sign with somebody, of course, I'm going to get new headshots. Right? So you just sort of include that in your cover letter, and include a snapshot of you of now. Was your hair a lot longer before?
Yeah, it was really long, and you can see it in the photos.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Thank you.
Christine's question. I don't actually know if Kirsten is taking tomorrow off. I haven't been in touch with her about that. So we should check with her. And I'll ask her as soon as this lesson is over, and I'll post it in the Confidence on Camera group. Any other questions? Yeah, Wes.
Where do I find good monologues? It's just like that.
The best source for monologues is probably transcribing them yourself, or I believe there's a website that Kirsten was talking about recently called Otter. If I'm remembering it right, that you can just send them, audio or video files, and they will automatically transcribe them. That might be a pay-for-use service, but basically to like find a character or a movie that you're like, oh, I love that, and just transcribe it yourself.
Okay.
Right. One of the sneaky tricks for transcribing monologues is to open up like a Google Doc file and basically have play it in headphones, from your from a music player or from your phone, and then as you're listening to it, speak it out loud to Google's voice to text. And that can, unless you have like an amazing typing speed, in which case, you're fine either way. But that's one of those things that can be fit. Christina's question: how do you know what types of monologues may fit your age? Well, is it a movie where the character was approximately your age? And again, kind of comes back to that. Can you empathize with the experience, with the feeling behind it? And I would say that if you're personally doing a monologue where you're talking about your like third husband, or like all of your kids, then that's probably a monologue that's going to make people go, like, even if the feelings are really like you're super engaged with them and you're like, God, I love this monologue. We're like, yeah, but it's impossible to believe that she's got 3 young children or 3 husbands. So I would say that's probably not a great choice for a monologue. If you're talking about things that just looking at your face, there's no way a stranger is going to believe. But that's my opinion. That's for a monologue that you're going to like potentially show to decision makers. Now, if it's a monologue for your own practice, anything, literally anything that interests you is fine. I've done all sorts of crazy monologues. I've done monologues for way older characters and way younger characters, and I've done Shakespeare monologues, and I've done poems, and I've done sociopaths and psychopaths and nice people, and it's just like, that's you practicing, right? That's just you as an artist following like what excites you. One of the things I love about monologues is that it gives you the opportunity to step into feeling whenever you want to. You don't have to wait for a class. You don't have to wait for somebody else to be available. You're like, oh, right. If I have 10 minutes, I can spend 10 minutes doing this monologue and I can walk myself into feeling, and that helps me feel like an artist. And doing even a little bit of that every day just helps me remember that I'm an artist, right? I mean, if you were really serious about playing an instrument, you would want to try and build in some kind of reason to play it every day. And singing or monologues, or some kind of physical work like yoga or dance. These are all ways that you can play your instrument a little bit every day. The best way that I know to get into that is to keep doing it in ways that you enjoy, to keep paying attention to like, which part of this do I like doing, as opposed to like, I must do an hour a day because Michael Bean said so. Grr. And instead it's like, well, which part do I love? Which part do I need? And can I keep following those? Yeah, please, Kevin.
Hey, so I've done some student films, and I was kind of going good with that before COVID, and trying to bridge the gap between student films to get auditions to TV and films and paid jobs. And I feel like I'm just kind of stuck, and like I have an agent, I'm like, send me the stuff, and he's just not sending me the stuff, and I just feel stuck. So I don't know where to go from here. What do you suggest? How do you bridge that gap, or what?
It's a really good question. I would say that some of the casting director videos, I don't know if you've watched any of the ones that we've done in the last couple of months, but you can find the link in my YouTube channel, that casting directors are getting 200 to 800 submissions and choosing, 10, 15, 20 people to see.
Yeah.
And so, especially if you happen to be in a saturated category, like white men, 40 to 60, which in the broadest sense, like you, me, and my dad probably all fall into.
Yeah.
Right, because they're actually seeing people who are slightly younger than that, people slightly older than that. It's a really good question. How do you get to be one of the 20 people who's selected if they're not seeing you regularly?
Yeah.
What you can do on your end is you can make sure that your skills are so good that when you get the shot, you will go in there and do consistent, technically proficient work. You can make sure that your agent has the materials that they need, including an updated demo with little clips from all these student films you've been doing that makes you look like a professional.
Yeah.
And an updated resume and all that. But if you're doing all of those things and you're like, what else can I do? That's when I think it's a conversation with your agent, right? That's the marketing professional. And the conversation is, hey, agent, what kind of stuff are you submitting me for? Because I'm not getting called in, and I know we both want me to get called in because that's how you eat.
Yeah.
Right? So if you just approach it collaboratively, and the thing is that anytime you go and have that conversation with your agent, you are dealing with every actor who has ever blamed them for not getting enough auditions. Right? So agents eat all sorts of terrible behavior from actors who are like, I'm not getting enough auditions, grah! Those are actors who don't understand how this works. The agent wants to eat. The agent's submitting you every single time they think you're appropriate for something.
Yeah.
So the question is, what does your agent currently think you're appropriate for?
Yeah.
And if they're like, well, yeah, I'm submitting you for commercials and I'm submitting you for these one-line roles. Then okay, then you have some education to do with your agent.
Yeah.
Then it's like, oh, if they're submitting me for one line, that's not a problem. It means they 100% trust that you can do one line on set, but they don't fully trust that you can do a professional or technically proficient job with a larger role than that, and they're not willing to take a chance. Because if they're like, Kevin can definitely do it, and you go in and you can't in the audition, the next time they say that about an actor, is that casting director, the risk is that casting director is less likely to see one of their people, especially since there's so many people to choose. Make sense?
Yeah.
So the agents are fairly careful about that. But you can educate your agent over time by sending them clips of stuff you do in class and clips of stuff that you're doing in independent films. And you don't send them the whole film, and you don't send them the whole thing you do in class. You send them 30 seconds to 1 minute of the stuff that makes you look the best.
Yeah.
You control what they see because they're a marketing professional and their opinion is genuinely influential on how they are talking to casting directors about you.
Yeah.
Right? And so if you are periodically sending those clips and educating your agent, maybe that's the thing. And if your agent's like, you know what, I'm submitting you for everything because I think you're amazing and I submit you for all of the stuff. In fact, here's the list. Look, I'll show you. See how I've submitted you for everything? Well, then the conversation is cool. That's great. nobody's seeing me. Let's focus on one casting director. And I'll try and find a workshop they're teaching, and I'll go take it. And I'll watch the video of like Judy Lee, Tiffany Mack. They both have videos there in the YouTube channel. I'm gonna go through and I'm gonna focus on their preferences, and I'm going to and so let's try and get me a self tape for one of those people who's not seeing me. That's that's one in you can take. But my recommendation is that you do it collaboratively. And so. And that's a lot of information. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. No, that was great advice.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
More questions? Yeah, go for it, Candy.
Okay, so I'm really new to acting. I haven't acted since I was 13 and I'm 23. So I just wanted to know what types of questions I should be asking myself about acting and regarding that whole career base. And then maybe as a newbie, I have no idea kind of what types of questions I should even be asking as a newbie,
God, what a great and sort of very, very broad question. So what sorts of, so your question is
sorry.
No, it's great. This is where you're actually at. I want to know where you're actually at.
For myself, and then for asking someone like you.
So you're saying where do I start? What questions do I ask? Is that right? Where do I start? What questions? Yeah. Okay. In sort of in broad terms, I think you say, okay, what do I love about this? Right. So this is the artist in me talking. The artist in me says it always starts with what do you love about it? Because nobody gets into acting because it's a really practical choice. Nobody's like, yeah, I did the spreadsheet, and this is definitely a way to make my parents happy and be steadily employed and make lots of money. Those are not true things about an acting career. They're just not. I'm not discouraging anybody from doing it. I do it. I love it. It's great.
Right.
It is not financially reliable or stable. You have very little control over how much you get hired. You might get hired a ton this year and then not for the next 3. Right? So it's got to fit into your life. And so in order to make that work, it's what do you love about this? And are you continuing to invest in that? Because if you are finding a way to love the process, then even if you don't end up with a whole bunch of roles on television, you were doing the thing that you loved. And so you're probably doing good things for your life. You're in good shape. Right. So that's my top level question is what do you love about it? And then from there, I would say, self-education, and starting to again, I'm just going to suggest my resources because the ones I know the best. But there's a handbook called Confidence on Camera Handbook. It's a free download. It's on my website. It's 40 pages of information. There's a bunch of these videos from the last couple of months. Even a handful of hours doing those things, and then you will have more concrete questions for yourself. Right? And that because in terms of what you're responsible for, it's you're responsible for being able to go in and do skilled work, and you're responsible for making sure these people have materials. If you're I don't even know what skilled work looks like, great. That's a great place to start. Right? So get yourself, do some reading, watch some videos, get into an acting class. I think she's totally frozen. I hope she can hear something. Okay. Deborah, did you have a question?
Yeah, I'm all excited since I heard you say transcribe.
Oh,
sorry.
I can't hear you.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, no, that's not me. That's Candy unfreezing.
Okay. Yeah, I'm all excited about transcribing your own monologues. I never heard of that before. Is it something that I can find out very easily about online?
Well, what I mean, is go to a movie, like a character in a movie who is like you in some way or inspires you in some way. Find the scene, where they've got a great monologue, and then just do that monologue.
Okay.
Then you end up doing and sometimes you can just find the script. You're like, oh yeah, I want to do something from Thelma and Louise, and you go
Yeah.
online and Thelma and Louise, you can probably find a PDF just like that.
Yeah.
You know,
Okay.
maybe it's something really specific. Maybe it's this like indie film from Quebec that like
Yeah.
you deeply love but nobody's ever heard of. That one you'd have to like queue up those 2 minutes and just spend the like 20 minutes or half an hour that it would take to transcribe it word for word, onto into a word processing program so that you could use that as a monologue.
Awesome. Thank you.
My pleasure. Okay. We ran even later than usual today. Thanks for all of your good questions and good examples. And I hope that some of you can come back to work with or to see Jesse on Friday. I'm really excited to hear his perspective on everything. Like I said, because we haven't had a content creator sort of focused director-producer come in yet. Okay. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, Michael.
Thanks
Thanks.
so much.
Thanks so much.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.